Welcome to On the Bubble Podcast, episode 150. I'm your host, Wasa J. Wida, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. Today, we're going to be talking about the Mastery Pack Warrior cards that came out I guess exactly 7 days ago from the day of our recording. We haven't actually recorded for a little bit now. Have you been playing a bunch of Flesh and Blood, Yuki?
I wouldn't say a bunch, but I have definitely been playing a little bit. I have mostly spent time on Hala. I have written an article for LSS on Hala, so by the time you listen to this, it might be posted or it might be posted soon, something like this. But yeah, Hala article going up, so I've spent some time with the new cards for sure. I have not spent as much time on Olympia, but I have been around people playing Olympia and seen some of what that can do. So it's been fun trying to see like what some of the new heroes are capable of. But I'd say that it's definitely like pretty casual. It's not like intense testing or anything. It's like a few games here and there.
Okay, that makes sense. Have you been doing any testing with like maybe Kasai? I know she's going to be LLing very, very soon, probably at the next PQ season, but Kasai also gets upgrades here too, right?
Yeah, Kasai gets new cards. I think she'll be good. I think Hala and Olympia get like a lot more support and are a lot more improved. And I think Kasai was kind of like already good. She won the calling in Attached to Pro Tour Vegas, for example. And yeah, she gets a new card. We'll talk about it. It's great, but I don't think it really changes how the deck plays. It's just like a nice power bump for her. And yeah, I don't know. I think she's still good. I realized when I was testing for Vegas that I don't really enjoy playing Kasai, so I probably won't be playing it. But I think that if you like Kasai, she seems quite strong right now, and she gets better from Mastery Pack Warrior. So and she was already good. So I think it's like very hard to go wrong with Kasai, but I don't think there's like a lot to necessarily explore.
Fair. But if you do like Kasai, I think you might only have 1 week to play with it on the first week of the Pro Quest, right? I think it would probably LO after week 1. That's my guess, at least. She has like 970 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 967. So seems very likely that she'll go. She's at that 1.5x multiplier. It is possible that she could go beforehand. She wins basically like another calling would be required. But there's not that many callings left. I think it's Hamburg and Kansas City, and that's it. So small likelihood, but possible. And then likely to go quickly during the ProQuest season, although I'm sure we'll be talking about this lots later. Viserai and Usurp the Shadow Throne, the new set, looks very powerful. And Viserai does arcane damage, which Kasai doesn't like. So it is possible that the new set is like super powerful and really changes the meta, and then maybe Kasai won't LL as fast as we think. But as things are currently, I would expect her to go quick.
Okay, that makes sense. As for myself, like I haven't been able to play that much Flesh and Blood recently, at least ever since Vegas. I've been working nonstop, just like 6 days a week, 10-hour shifts, sometimes 8-hour shifts. But gotta rejuice my bank account so that I can, do these hobbies again.
Yeah, that's super real. It takes money to do the fun things, unfortunately.
Yeah, mostly traveling, flights, hotels, all of that things. Oh my god. Too much money. Okay. You wanna do the Patreon shout out and then we'll move on?
Yeah, so thank you to all of the patrons who give back to the show. We couldn't keep doing what we're doing without you, so we really appreciate all of your support. If you want to check us out, you can find us on patreon.com/onthebobble. There's a few tiers there. The holiday bauble and cracked bauble tiers are just a way to say thanks and get back to show and show some support. And then the titanium bauble tier has access to all the content that gets posted on the Patreon. And then there's a few tiers that involve coaching as well, if you're interested in a monthly coaching session. So you can check that all out at our Patreon. And I guess I also want to say thank you to all of our listeners. We really appreciate you as well, even if you aren't able to get back to the show. It's always nice chatting with people at events and saying hi and meeting people who listen to the show and get value out of it. You are the reason that we started the show in the first place, and the reason that we make the show is to give the listeners something to listen to and hopefully get some value out of. So yeah, we really appreciate everyone who tunes in week to week or tunes in sometimes even. If you're interested in picking up Mastery Pack Warrior singles or other Flesh and Blood singles, consider shopping at invasioncnc.ca. Invasion's one of the largest Canadian retailers. It's where I personally choose to buy my cards. And they have a great selection of singles, great prices. And you can use code YLB5 for 5% off your cart at checkout. That kind of just lets them know that we sent you there, and is another way you can help support us as well as save a little bit of money on your singles.
Awesome. Okay, then we'll just move right into the cards. Before we talk about the cards itself, we should talk about at least a little bit about the hero before we talk about the cards. So we'll first start off by talking about Hala. What does Hala actually do? Because she was just an armory deck and didn't really have like a limited set or like a core set to support any of her cards, right? What does Hala actually do, or like what's her game plan generally?
Yeah, so her main ability is you pay 3 resources, you sharpen target sword you control, and this ability has go again. So that's put a +1 counter on it, and then at the end of the turn, you remove all the +1 counters. And then her sword, Zenith Blade, is a 1 for 3 two-handed sword. It's a Hala specialization, and it says if this has been sharpened this turn, its first attack this turn gets go again. So you can use your hero ability to sharpen, and that will give you kind of 4 go again for 4 resources, which is okay, but you do need to find a way to spend the remaining action point and resources for it to be efficient. But many of our cards will sharpen, so you can make the sword even bigger than this. Many cards create flurry tokens, which allow you to swing a second time that turn. So the kind of core gameplay pattern for Hala is sharpen up the sword, make it really big, make a flurry token, attack twice with a sword, reset Valiant Dynamos. And she's kind of doing this swing twice with Zenith Blade over and over again. She technically can swing 3 times in the same turn sometimes, mostly with Beckon Steel, which she got in Omens of the Third Age, but she's mostly aiming to swing the sword twice as much as possible, and occasionally throwing in a 2 for 6 like Command and Conquer, because you can pitch 2 blues, attack for 4, go again, and then end on Command and Conquer or Weakest Link or Sirens of Safe Harbor. These are all other ways she can use that action point. But yeah, that's kind of the idea behind Hala.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how hard is it to make the flurry token, right? Because Hala's hero tags, Zenith Blade's hero tags doesn't have like any mention of the flurry tokens. So these flurry token has to come from somewhere, right? Is it just gonna be your regular actions you play?
Yeah, it's mostly from the action cards in the deck. Most of the flurry tokens came with the armory deck or with maybe some of them are in compendium. I think the most premium ways to do it are Edict of Steel. The red one sharpens and creates a flurry token if you sharpened once. The yellow one sharpens, creates a flurry token if you sharpen twice, and the blue one makes it if you sharpen 3 times. So that card is very, very good in Hala. She also has Toe the Line, which is a prevent 2, and if you prevent damage this way, you make a flurry. Those are some of her best ways, and then she kind of has some other ways that you can play out blue that are a little bit less efficient. And there's some new cards in the set that help her attack twice. I guess it doesn't make a flurry token, but it helps you attack twice, which is functionally kind of like a flurry. So you have a pretty good density of these cards. You definitely are trying to like arsenal them and make sure that you have them as much as possible, and then you can fill in some of the gaps as well with the two cost attacks. Like Ripple Away is a staple in Hala because Ripple she wants a lot of blues since a lot of your turns take 2 blues to play out. She Ripple Away is a great utility blue that's a 3 block, and you can also just off of 3 blues you can sharpen Zenith Blade, Ripple Away. It's a 3 card 8. It's not fantastic, but out of a 3 blue hand, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I've done a lot worse with 2 blues, 3 blues. So you know what, 3 card eight's not too bad. I guess the other thing to talk about here will be that sharpen is because it gives a +1 counter until the end of the turn. It disappears at the end of the turn. You really do want to be attacking more than once with the weapon to get the actual value from the sharpen itself, right? Like because it only gives 1 power. If you play a card that only sharpens once, it is you're essentially using like 1 card to give 1 power, and that's usually not good enough. And so whenever you do sharpen, you're trying to attack with the sword twice, and if you do it 3 times, you're usually going to be well above rate on the cards that you sharpen with.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say like your hands typically have very good math if you swing twice and are like kind of crazy if you swing 3 times, and then are usually pretty bad if you're swinging the sword and only once, unless you have like the 2 for 6 to follow up. Then you're just on rate. It's like 4 into 6 off of 3 cards is just, yeah, it's like a thunderquake with an on hit, which is like pretty good. But yeah, typically most of your good turns are going to be from swinging twice.
Then, other than the cards that was already printed in the Hala Armory deck, what new cards did Hala get to maybe like increase her ceiling?
Yeah, she got a few cards. One that I think's very good is Point of Escalation. This is a yellow 3 block warrior attack reaction that costs 1 resource to play. And it says target sword attack gets +2 for each time you've attacked with the sword this turn. So this is kind of like a yellow 1 for 4 attack reaction, assuming that you can swing twice, which is already a pretty good rate. We typically see kind of like 0 for 3 as a good baseline for warrior reactions, and sometimes these are conditional as well. So 1 for 4 is actually a very good rate, and it is also a yellow, which is really nice for Hala because she's really resource hungry, and a lot of your turns you can maybe like sharpen with her hero ability, swing Zenith Blade, or sharpen with other cards, swing Zenith Blade twice, and that's going to cost 2 resources. So the yellow pitch is actually very flexible for her and gives her a lot more consistency. I think she kind of had this problem where you almost wish you could be like a 35 blue deck, but your blues weren't quite good enough. And having some good yellows in the deck actually does a lot for the consistency. It's a really good threat second cycle. And this helps push through some of her on hits, which is maybe not what you think of when you think of Hala. She traditionally doesn't have on hits, but Beck & Steel from Omens of the Third Age is a on hit sharpen. And if the sword's been sharpened at least 3 times, you get a whole extra attack. So Beck & Steel is often worth like 7-8 points of value. And Point of Escalation with Beck & Steel is fantastic because you can push through the Beck & Steel if they have like a D react to cover it up, or you need to make sure it hits. And you can get your like 1 for 4 reaction that helps you play one of the most above rate cards in your deck. Or if they don't cover it up, you can Point of Escalation on the third swing, and then it's a 1 for 6, and then your turn is just completely disgusting. So I've been really impressed with this card. They're also yellow and blue, so you can feasibly like pitch stack a Beck & Steel Point of Escalation turn.
Okay, that's pretty disgusting. Yeah, Point of Escalation is when you attack the 3rd time, and if you ever use it, yeah, you're a yellow that's a 1 for 6 is not fair, right? Like that's definitely above rate, and it blocks for 3. So man, what a versatile card.
Yeah, I think it really is that like flexibility and being like a good resource card that's also just like 1 for 4 attack reaction, super solid. And then when it's 1 for 6, it truly feels like you're doing something broken.
And then on the next card will be And Again, which is a warrior action that costs 1, blocks for 3, and it says attack with target sword that has been sharpened and you've attacked with this turn. So this is another card that if you have the Go Again, you get to attack with the sword again. Even if the card you've already attacked with the once per turn attack or any of those, you don't have any more attack stuff with your weapon, you get to do it again. This card seems really strong in Hala as well, right? This is like also your 3rd swing if you have the Go Again.
Yeah, it theoretically can be. In practice, I found it pretty hard to get it to be a 3rd swing because Zenith Blade only gets Go Again on the first attack. So you kind of need an extra source of Go Again, and Hala typically doesn't want to run sources of Go Again because you get it for free off of her hero ability. So you could consider running some cards like maybe in your blue base that can make a Blade Dance token, or maybe you could run like Unsheathed or something and try to juice up your And Agains a little bit. But in the bit of testing I did, I found that it almost never came up and didn't really necessarily feel worth running. But what And Again does do is it gives you your second swing very easily. And if you look at this card, like if you kind of squint at this card kind of says 0 cost, make a flurry, Go Again. because the one cost pays for the weapon swing. So the timing is different. Like flurries you want to make before you swing the weapon, this one will be after. But usually this is just paying a card for your second weapon swing, which is actually pretty good. You're often paying a card for like Red Edict of Steel is premium, and that's sharpen, make a flurry. So this is kind of like blue, make a flurry. You don't get the sharpen, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But like where this card was like probably intended was for Dorenthia, right? Because Dorenthia's
Well,
ability doesn't let you attack unless you've hit, and again just lets you just attack again with the sword that you weren't actually able to supposed to attack with.
uh, yeah, you have to sharpen if you want to play end again. Is the kind of the caveat there. So
Oh yeah, this card says sharpen on it too.
yeah, so I think
Hmm.
this is primarily a Hala card, but maybe there's like a sharpen package that can fit into other decks. But I think it definitely fits the cleanest into Hala since she's all about sharpening.
Oh, I actually missed that part. I thought you can just always attack with again.
That would be really good if it's like another Twinning Blade style card. That'd be really strong in Doranthia. Yeah, I also think I thought the same thing when I first read the card.
You have to sharpen. How often does it happen when Hala, like you don't get to sharpen with Hala and then you have and again? Like, is that going to be like a common thing from your testing?
Not really. Like her hero ability lets you pitch a blue to sharpen.
Mm.
So and again's a blue. So it's like very hard for this to actually come up. You do have some hands that just like can't swing twice. Like maybe if you have like and agains and a bunch of reds and no flurry, it doesn't save you. But I think the deck I was playing has like 28 blues, 9 yellows, something like that. So you're pretty resource rich. And you also have like grains to help smooth out turns a little bit. So I found that the resources for and again isn't too hard to get. And it's just a very nice consistency piece. It kind of you asked that question of like how easy is it to make a flurry. I think she was a little bit short on ways before, and this feels like getting this one more way is actually like fairly significant.
Okay, that makes sense. The next card, Drawn to the Blade. It's a yellow 0 cost, so another yellow. It's a warrior action that blocks for 3, and it says sharpen target sword you control. And then it says if it has 2 or more +1 counters, next time it hits this turn, draw a card, go again. So this is basically like the yellow Edict of Steel, but instead of a flurry token, you get a draw card.
Yeah, this is kind of like Saber Bloodshed. Honestly, Saber Bloodshed's a 0 for 4. I guess you could say this is only a 0 for 2, but it does the same thing where it's just the next time it hits. So if you swing multiple times, they have to cover both swings. And a 0 for like assuming you can do the flurry and do the whole thing, a 0 for 2 that draws a card is very, very strong. And even your baseline of like Edict of Steel drawn to the blade, 5/5 reset dynamos on hit draw is really strong, and 5/5 is pretty hard to block out. Like your opponent's either giving you the whole hand or giving you equipment, and that's assuming you don't have like Point of Escalation or Swordmaster Shine as attack reactions to pump it over, or which do work with this curve very nicely. Yeah, I've been really impressed with this card. It's just, I think this is one of the strongest cards in the set.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Saber Bloodshed and being good. Also good in yellow. That makes sense. Yeah, okay.
And all the things we were talking about with like Point of Escalation being yellow and that helping Hala and giving her flexibility with her resources all applies to Drawn to the Blade. I think that like having more yellows that are good in her really helps with not drawing these like clunky all red hands where you just can't function. The all red hands were like super punishing. So I think just getting to replace some of those reds with yellows and those yellows kind of play like reds is actually like a huge upgrade to this deck.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then this last card you have is red. It's Slice Up for 0, and it blocks for 3. It's a warrior attack reaction, and it says target weapon attack gets when this hits a hero, you may remove a +1 counter from this weapon. If you do, they discard a card. Wow. Why do I need to discard a card if I didn't block?
Yeah, you kind of get to Winter's Bite them, and I think a problem that like Hala and Warrior in general typically has is like you think of them as like good weapon, good armor, vanilla damage, right? That's like usually the case. Even Kasai, like yeah, she makes the golds and coppers, but a lot of it kind of just feels like vanilla damage. And with Hala, Beckon Steel is an attack reaction that on hit gives you a whole extra swing. That's often worth just like 6, 7, 8 points of value. Drawn to the Blade gives you on hit draw across multiple weapon swings. And then Slice Up as an attack reaction can remove a counter to make them discard a card. And notably, this is after damage. So if it's on the second swing, you get to Slice Up them. You don't actually lose any damage. And they discard a card. This kind of changes the paradigm a little bit where you can't. I wouldn't say that Hala is like hitting you with on hits over and over and over again. But between Drawn to the Blade, Slice Up, Beckon Steel, she can fit Command and Conquer in there. That's like a staple for her. She actually has quite a few on hits that you have to care about. And I think this is like a huge difference for the deck going forward, is that maybe you don't want Slice Up against like a Betsy that wants to block you all the time. But if you're playing in Syndra or a Cilio, this is really nasty. You have like a big Drawn to the Blade turn. They don't want to block it out. You go up a card and you end on this and then make them discard a card and kind of like slow them down. That's exactly the kind of thing that I think Warrior's been missing. So this is a really strong tool.
Okay, that makes sense. And also as a note, like Sharpen removes all the +1 counters at the end of the turn anyways, right? So it's not even a cost to remove a counter from it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think this is just like a very nice piece of interaction. It's sort of like reaction speed, Winter's Bite. It does have to hit. That is notable. There's a significant risk with playing this card, but I think you are playing this into decks that really don't want to block you.
Okay, that makes sense. The my question would be like, do you think Hala is going to be like a meta contender in the next set, or do you think it's gonna be like in this um how would I say it? Like not like the best hero, but like people will bring it.
Yeah, it's like a little bit early to say. I've been pretty impressed with Hala. I think she's good. I think she's like at least sort of like A tier. People will show up, it will do well. And I would say that I would expect her to be, at least there. The things that really impressed me in my testing was that I was actually able to keep up with the Cilio, both the spell variant and the attack action variant, assuming I could board AB when I needed AB. You have a lot of blues and a lot of damage for the arcane one. And you actually have enough on hits and disruption against plus damage against the attack action one that the games felt quite close. And the games into Marionette also felt pretty close, which is not something I would say. Normally, Marionette is fantastic into Warrior. I don't think the matchup was like actively good or anything, but it felt very competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 45% for Hala, which is pretty solid. And then typically Hala's bread and butter is grinding out fatiguey mid-rangey decks because you can pitch a blue into her to sharpen. You swing the Zenith Blade twice for 4. That's 8 deck damage plus your Valiant Dynamos. You do need to spend a card to get the flurry, notably, but so much of the damage doesn't take cards. Like even if you're spending like 1 card to get the flurry and you're attacking for 5/5 reset Dynamos, that's like 1 card for 11 value, right? Which is just like super efficient. So she's typically really good in the grindy matchups, and the faster matchups have been her problem. So most of my testing was focused on the fast matchups, and actually seemed pretty competent. So I think that she's like probably a pretty real deck. I didn't quite have enough time to like test all the matchups and see exactly where she lands, but I think she's very good.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. My limited experience with Hala is from the Huntsman side, and all I know is play Hunter or Hunted, look at top, not Edict of Steel, bottom, name Edict of Steel.
Yeah. If you get to snipe all of our Edict of Steels, that is very bad for Hala.
Yeah, you rip 3 reds and a yellow. Oh, beautiful. But at least now with this Warrior, Mastery Pack Warrior, a lot of the Warriors for Huntsman was, they were playing 9 copies of 1 card, so they could really get hurt by Hunter or Hunted. But now, there's like a lot more Majestics you can play with different names, so it's probably going to be a little bit better now.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, I think Hala is interesting. She's a hero I have my eyes on a little bit as we go forward. I think she could be quite strong. The Gravy matchup is the biggest one that scares me. That matchup does not seem good, but maybe you can race them. You're just like very bad at killing allies. You're making 2 big sword swings and sending one of them into an ally feels pretty bad most of the time. You can Beckon Steel like a chum though. I think that's probably how you're supposed to win the matchup because it's just on hit. It doesn't have to hit a hero. So if you get to hit the chum for 6 and then swing 7/7 at them or something like this, it's pretty good.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. You probably, I don't know, sideboarding Scarf or Scars or something if you really want to beat them.
Yeah, yeah. Or like Midas Touch might be an option. But yeah, you probably need some tech for Gravy specifically if you want to beat him.
Okay, that makes sense. But the format is going to be shaking up at the next ProQuest season, most likely. There's a lot of heroes at like the 700 and the 870 mark, like Syndra, Dash, Fi, Arachne, Marionette, and Kasai can rotate in the next BQ season. So yeah, I think there'll be a pretty big shakeup in CC in the coming month or two.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And new set too, and new set looks powerful. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot changing in Classic Constructed, and honestly, I'm pretty excited. I think we're kind of due for a shakeup.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Talking about a shakeup though, the next hero to talk about will be Olympia. So Olympia's not a how do I say it? It's not a new hero. He's been around for a while, but I've kind of never seen an Olympia at a competitive event. And we got the Armory deck Olympia. It wasn't enough. And then now we have Mastery Pack with Olympia cards in it, and a lot of them too. So I guess with the newer cards, how do you think Olympia is going to be played now?
Yeah, so I guess let's quickly talk about Olympia and his new weapon, and then we can talk about the playstyle. So Olympia, 40 life warrior hero from Heavy Hitters, and he says the first time each of your attacks wins a wager, create a gold token. So you have to be the one attacking, you have to win the wager, but you get a gold for free in addition to whatever else you wagered. And then Golden Grail, his new weapon, is a 2 resource, two-handed sword that attacks for 3. And it says once per turn action, you can pay 2 or destroy a gold you control to attack. And if this attack has wagered, it gets +1. 2 for 3 is okay. It does curve well with the 1 for 3 wagers and kind of lets you do like a 2-card 7 with a wager, which is decent. But where this weapon really shines is when you start getting to use it to swing for free and play these kind of like pitchless turns. And I think that that's kind of like what Olympia is trying to do. And the playstyle really kind of reminds me of Azalea, where you're playing a bunch of buffs, attaching them, in this case, to your weapon, in Azalea's case, to your arrow. And you're just sending one giant attack with a bunch of on hits. And I guess Olympia gets more like access to attack reactions and tricks and this kind of thing since he's a warrior, but it very much is like attack you for 14, here's a bunch of on hits that you need to care about, do you want to block it out? And they are wagers, they do get some of the value if they block, but yeah, we'll look at some of the new cards. I think the new wagers are very powerful and help solve some of these problems Olympia has had. He also has some access to Dominate, not in the hero text like Azalea would, but there's many cards you can play that give Dominate and make this kind of even nastier, I guess, where like you maybe just can't block it out because the attack has Dominate and it's for 15. That's the kind of thing that he's trying to do.
And I guess like you compared it to Azalea, but I guess the biggest upside against Azalea would be like, I guess that's not the best way to say it. An upside compared to Azalea would be that Azalea needed to find the buffs that gave the on hit and the arrow as well, right? Whereas Olympia, the weapon is always there, so you actually only need the buffs, right? You don't actually need the attacks. So you don't really have these turns where you can brick, right? Unless you don't have enough gold to make your turn work.
Yeah, typically as long as you have gold, you're pretty set. He also is like chocked full of block 3s. Basically all of the cards block for 3. He has good armor too. And your weapon at a baseline is like, if you have a gold, is a 0 card 3. And if you can wager, it's like a 0 card 4. And that is just like super, super strong. So I think Olympia really is about getting going with your golds and kind of keeping that train rolling. A while ago, he received armor in all the slots that is temper 2 and counts as a gold. I think that having a couple of these is really, really strong so that you can kind of block too early, crack it to swing the sword, or crack it to play some of the other cards like double down, and just get very efficient right away. And then hopefully that turn is good enough to push through and kind of keep the ball rolling. So you kind of, even though like in theory he would have a ramp up time, he can actually kind of like start with some golden play that it still has defensive value. And that's, I think, really big for the hero.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like unlike Gravy Bones and I guess all the pirate heroes that can like kind of get gold just by being a pirate. Olympia is not a pirate, so you have to work for the gold, right? Like Olympia has to start hitting to make the gold. Yeah, that would be the hardest part about this deck. Let's talk about some of the cards that he got from this set. The first card we'll be talking about is Into the Muck, which is a 0-cost warrior attack reaction that blocks for 3, pitches for red, and it says, play this only if you've wagered this chain link. Banish a non-equipment defending card on the active chain link. So this is essentially a shred for Olympia.
Yeah, it's like shred that doesn't have equipment, but also is not capped on defense value. So obviously, like the biggest blowout would be if somebody is playing a tall defense reaction, like a staunch or an unmovable. If you get to Into the Muck, that's just gross. But I think that even when this is just sort of like a 0 for 3 or 0 for 4, Iron Song response is kind of like a go-to warrior attack reaction that has actually seen a fair bit of play in Doranthea, but even in decks like Kasai sometimes, against decks that want to block them. And that's just a 0 for 3 attack reaction. And I think, and it requires reprise, which means they have to block from hand. So if they have like a D react from Arsenal, you actually get stuffed on the reprise trigger. I think Into the Muck most of the time is basically better Iron Song response. And the upside when you hit a 0 for 4 or hit a big defense reaction is just pretty brutal.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess there is the downside of that you have to wager, but if you're not wagering, then you're not doing what your deck wants to do anyways, right?
Yeah, I think that this is like very much an Olympia card, but yeah, I think Olympia is kind of chock full of wager, and you do have the headpiece prize Galea to pay a resource, wager a gold at reaction speed, and that helps give you some kind of like redundancy or insurance, I guess. And there's a card to buy back the prize Galea. We'll get to it later. Also, notably, Golden Grail gets the +1 retroactively if you wager. So if you don't wager and you wager as a reaction, the Golden Grail will still go to 4.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know. It's good to know. I guess that makes sense. It's just looking for if it has been wagered and it's like a passive on it.
Yeah, it's just like a static. It's not a on attack trigger or anything.
I kind of wish that the line if this attack has wagered it gets +1 was just on a separate line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just from like a templating standpoint. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Oh, I guess it doesn't technically work. It doesn't matter. Okay, whatever about that. We'll talk about the next card, Bluff Catcher. It's a yellow 2-cost 3-block warrior action, and it says you may destroy a gold you control rather than pay this card's resource cost. Your next sword attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks, wager with the defending hero. The winner gets +1 intellect during their next end phase. So you get to draw a card, like straight up draw an extra card.
I've seen this like in some lists and not in some lists. I think this effect is pretty strong. Maybe it's for some matchups more than others, but again, if you're going for like the super tall attack that you kind of functionally can't block, this lets you keep rolling. And I think that's really what Olympia is all about, kind of like getting momentum and keep going. You send a big attack, they can't block it, you get 5 intellect, that helps you send another big attack on the following turn. Or potentially slow down and take a pivot, block out, take a setup turn, or play a smaller hand. And you can also do that because you have so many 3 blocks. So I think Bluff Catcher is like pretty impressive when your deck is rolling, and it's a yellow 3-block, so it has some flexibility. You can pitch into Golden Grail with it. You can block with it. I think this card's pretty impressive.
Yeah. For a yellow card that's like I feel like that's the kind of the theme of this set, right? Like a lot of there's yellow majestics are just like powerful red replacements for these warriors that are kind of like mana hungry, right?
Yeah, exactly. It just gives you a ton of flexibility, which is kind of what I think usually good flesh and blood decks get there because they have like redundancy and flexibility and things like this, and kind of helps create that. I think like a good example of maybe not having this is like Ira. I think Ira's always had this problem of like you want one blue every turn, but if you draw multiple blues, it's bad for you, and if you don't draw a blue, it's bad for you. And she just kind of like she's solid, but I think she's always just kind of struggled from this problem of like just not having quite enough consistency with her resources. And usually the consistent decks are ones that either just have a ton of resources like Gravy Bones, or can play like no resources like Acilio or Syndra.
Mm-hmm. And then like if the power cards are in the yellows, you just get to do everything you want to do.
Yeah.
So and it's a pretty good pitch deck too. But yeah, Bluff Catcher seems like a really good card into aggro. Maybe not that good into some defensive decks.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful when you play this one because the downside on it is pretty big. But you know, you have some attack reactions, maybe you have some dominate. This card starts to look, and you go tall enough, this card starts to look really good.
Okay. The next card, I kind of don't believe in it yet. You seem a little bit higher on it. It's called Big Slick. The red one is a 3-cost warrior action 3-block. It says your next sword attack this turn gets +5 power, and when this attacks wager with the defending hero, the winner draws a card. Go again. So just like Bluff Catcher, you end up with 1 extra card, but you get to immediately draw the card in this one. So yeah, the upside's good, but it costs 3, and you have to pay 3 for it.
Yeah. It definitely is an expensive card, but I think it's pretty strong. I think Olympia kind of ends up being this deck that has a bunch of blues, and early on, you're paying your blues into like 1-cost wager Golden Grail to get going. And then later on, you're kind of playing a lot of these pitchless turns, and Big Slick doesn't let you play pitchless, but it does give you a way to convert your blues. Which I think is actually pretty valuable. So early on, you can kind of block this, and then as you get going, you can play this as it's kind of like a 3 for 5 ponder, and it fulfills the wager condition, which is important. You need to be wagering, and I think wagering a card is one of the stronger things you can wager. The other thing that's nice about this is, again, assuming you have the gold, just at a baseline, if you play Big Slick off of a blue, that's +5, and then crack a Golden Grail comes in for 9, and 2-card 9 on hit draw, even though it's a wager, is pretty strong, especially against a deck that doesn't block well. Like if this is against like Acilio, for example, this is probably hitting, or you might be getting like their whole hand if they want to block this. And I think that is pretty significant. And as soon as you add like one more pump to this, it becomes extremely challenging to block. So yeah, again, maybe a card that you need to be selective against blocky decks, but I think has pretty significant upside.
Next card to talk about will be Rakeback, blue 2-cost warrior action 3-block. And this one has the you may destroy a gold you control rather than pay this card's cost. Card does your next sword attack this turn gets +2 power, and when this attacks, wager with the defending hero. The winner may equip an equipment card from their graveyard. Go again. So on hit re-equip. Okay.
Something I've found to be pretty strong about this card, it's sort of like a lot of your blues often have the thing of like they're good late when you get to second cycle, but this card is almost the opposite. This card's actually really good early, but it's still blue that you can use as a blue if you want, so it's very flexible. Something that's impressed me with this card is the like early, like turn 1, turn 2, sometimes even turn 3 rakeback, because you have the golden armor, which you can break to either play this or swing the sword. And if your opponent doesn't have armor in the graveyard, it's just a one-sided on hit. And it's sort of like they can use their equipment to cover this up, but because of the timing, they don't actually get the equipment back. So there's just a lot of situations where you can just rake back, and like your opponent kind of wants to keep their armor to stop your big on hits. But if one of those early on hits is a rakeback, they might not actually have any armor to buy back. And then, yeah, I think when this is just like a one-sided on hit is actually very, very powerful.
Okay, okay. That makes a lot of sense actually. The way that you frame it makes this card look really strong. Where yeah, whenever you do have a wager that only benefits you and doesn't benefit your opponent, it is really really powerful, right? Like for example, like wagering a vigor token in a lot of scenarios your opponent can't like use it, or your opponent's deck doesn't really have like a way to use a vigor token. It can feel like a really one-sided wager. In this case, like if your opponent doesn't have a good way to use the equipment, yeah, it is a one-sided equipment. And it's also, I guess, Prize Galea is also like an instant way to destroy it, even if you don't break any other equipment first, right?
Yeah, yeah. Prize Galea does it, and the gold armor. The gold armor, I think, is the most synergistic with this. But yes, you can also do Prize Galea. So there's just kind of like a lot of ways to set it up where they don't necessarily get to have the benefit. Some decks also just have like a lot of battle worn equipment or like temper equipment they want to keep around, like grains of blood spill. So I think your mileage might vary in how effective this is, but there are a lot of spots where this is really, really impressive. Like you send this against like a Syndra, for example, and like Syndra wants her equipment in play for like almost the whole game. So it's like really like you just kind of create these situations where it's like technically you can fold the hand to stop this and deny the on hit, but you don't actually get anything out of it. And then they just get a full 4 card hand to like kind of hit you again. And I kind of feel like that's like the tension with Olympia, where you get to do these above rate things by paying gold. And if they fold, you have all your cards, so you can kind of just like pay resources for them. And if they don't fold, you get the gold back, and then you can kind of do the above rate things again.
Okay, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, okay. Okay. You know what? Passes as a majestic. Powerful. Got it.
Yeah, I think that if this card wasn't a blue 3 block, it wouldn't be good. But because it's a blue 3 block and you can kind of choose when you want to play it, it's very powerful.
So essentially another like pseudo red disguised as a blue.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Kind of keeping up with that theme that we're seeing.
Fair enough. Okay, then the next couple of cards are all going to be red. So the next card to talk about will be Check Raise. The red 0 cost 3 block. It's a warrior action, and it says the next time an attack you control wagers this turn, it gets +4. Go again. So it's just 0 for 4? Like, that's it?
Yeah, 0 for 4 pump, blocks for 3, comes in all the colors, notably. So you can play red, yellow, blue of this card.
Do you think the blue one is good?
Yeah, 0 for 2 blues are good.
Just red, yellow, not good enough?
I don't know exactly like which ones you play, but I think that check raise is very powerful, and most decks I see play you between 6 and 9 copies, I would say.
Okay, okay. Makes sense, makes sense.
I think people are still figuring it out. But yeah, the rate on this card is just really good. And I think like a blue that can convert for a 0 for 2 when they're folding is really strong. This also has the same thing where if you wager in reactions, you get the buff. I've had some like funny spots where they go like check raise, crack a gold, swing the sword for 3, and you're like, okay, sure.
I wonder if the prize Galea's coming.
yeah. There also like are other like there's like up the ante and things like this, but yeah, you look at them, they have like 3 cards, and you're like, I see.
If you block for 9 and they don't have anything, it's they got you.
Yeah. But yeah, I think check raise kind of like maybe contextualizes some of these other things like Big Slick. Like we talked about Big Slick being like a 2-card 9 on hit draw. Well, if you add a check raise to it, it's like a 3-card 13 on hit draw. And 13 is like there's just like a lot of decks that can't really block 13 on most hands.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get you. Like +4 is a lot.
Yeah. Like especially when you have these on hits, you're just like it's really big. And I think that's the other thing that's interesting about this card is not a wager, but it is a pump. So you might have like 1 wager on there, but you might have the attack be like 10, 13, 15. And it's like, yeah, I win the wager, but I get like 1 thing. And that's not really that good. But then Olympia's like, okay, well, I get my gold back and I get whatever I wagered. Sweet.
Mm. It's also like I'm thinking about this in like the Azalea terms. Azalea never had a pump that pumped four, did it?
I don't think so. It had a lot of like threes with on hits, but I can't think of any actual fours.
Yeah. So fours is four pump is really disgusting.
Yeah, especially when it blocks three.
This blocks three. Wow.
Yeah, this card's just great, honestly. Like it's just above rate. It's not exciting. It's just above rate, and above rate cards in Flesh and Blood are just good. I think that's kind of like why the blue is good too. Just like a blue 0 for 2 go again block three. Like it's just a good card. Just solid.
Okay. Yeah, I love my titanium baubles. Okay, next card will be a majestic. It's called Heads Up. It's cost one, blocks for three. It's a warrior action, and it says the next sword attack this turn gets +3 power, and when this attacks, if it's wagered, it gets dominate. Go again. So this card itself doesn't wager. You need one other card to wager with, but as you were saying, this does give the dominate.
The rate on it, not the most exciting. And the one cost is a little bit awkward because you also have to find the space to wager. But I think access to dominate is good. This might be worse overall than there's a yellow Iron Song Determination, yellow 0 cost +1 dominate. I think that card might be a better source of dominate than this, but I could also see a world where you just want more access to dominate against decks that want to block you and just overload them with dominate. There's also like cut and carve, sharpen, dominate. And so you can potentially play like 9 sources of dominate in this deck if you want to, and I could see that being a potential way to approach the decks that want to block, especially when you like start you factor in like into the muck and you're really limiting how much they can block.
Yeah, not much else to say about Heads Up, right?
Dominate plus on hits is really solid, and you can kind of get away with playing a little bit of below rate stuff just because when you crack a gold for Golden Grail and get like a 0 cost 4 power weapon, it's so above rate that like if some of your other stuff is a little below rate, it's like, that's fine.
It ends up being reasonable.
Yeah, like you just like end up in a pretty good spot.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next card. So I don't know if this card's actually good, but Golden Company is a 2 cost 6 block warrior defense reaction. And it says you may destroy a gold you control rather than pay this card's cost. Which means this card can be essentially a 0 for 6 by killing a gold you control. And if it's actually a gold token, like that gold converts for essentially 3 points. That's a lot of value for one card. Like, I don't know if this card is gonna actually see play on Olympia. It must be in the sideboard, right? For like to beat things like Guardians and maybe things like Betsy.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely possible. A tension I see with this card is that the decks that you want tall D reacts against are also the decks that are more likely to deny you gold and on hits. So I can see maybe a tension where you're like taxing your gold a little bit too much because swinging the sword is also worth 3 maybe 4 points if you wager. So you do have like this limit on how much gold you can spend, but it is a very efficient card. I've also seen some people playing blues. I don't know if I believe in the blues. It's like, yes, you get to arsenal it, but so much of the time, like if you're blocking from hand with it and you're spending a gold, like you could have just had a blue block 3. Yes, it's reaction speed and that can matter, and sometimes having D-reacts in your deck is just powerful into stuff like Marionette. But I think I believe in the red more than the blue. Although I think the blues are maybe more popular because they can live in your blue base. I don't know. I'm not sure about this card either. It's interesting. It is powerful, but it's a matter of like how much gold do you have and where do you want to spend that gold. And the more you're playing bluff catcher, rake backs, and double down. It's an old card. It gives +3 overpower and double the tokens that you win from a wager. Or that many +1, I should say, not double. The more that you're playing those cards, the more taxed your gold you get. So I think there's like a real question of like where you want to spend your gold, and it could be more of those buffs and those 2-cost buffs that you can make free, or it could be golden companies. But I think that you probably can't play like all of them.
Yeah, makes sense. I think the one upside of this card though is like it is just a 2 cost 6 block, which is fine for a defense reaction rate.
Yeah, Yeah, if you have to hardcast it, it is not embarrassing.
Yeah, it's fine. Like pitch a yellow, play this, block for 6. Yeah, good D react.
I think Golden Company is quite interesting, and again, I think I like the red more than the blue. But
Then second to last card for Olympia, last card for Olympia, I don't know. Visit the prize room. This is the blue 1 cost 2 block warrior action. This is like the only 2 block that we've seen so far.
yeah,
So it's an Olympia specialization, and it says you may destroy a gold you control. If you do, equip a prize Galea from your inventory, and it also creates a vigor and a courage token with go again. So it's a 1 cost that makes 1 more mana and 1 more power, and you get a prize Galea back, but you have to play 1 in your sideboard, an extra 1 in your sideboard.
I think overall this is a very efficient blue. You kind of pay like 1 the card and the gold. You get 2 block of equipment plus probably 2 value from the vigor and the courage, and you get the prize Galea wager effect back, or an additional point of armor. So it's kind of like a 1 for 5 ish blue that requires you to crack a gold to use it, which I think is actually just a pretty good deal. And the cracking a gold to play it is kind of less costly because prize Galea later lets you wager a gold, and you also get a gold from Olympia if you win it. So you kind of refund a lot of that, and you kind of just end up getting extra armor, extra onboard wagers, and the vigor and the courage. And vigor is actually really strong in Olympia because so many of your wagers, we didn't really talk about them because there's a lot of like old wagers that cost 1 and give +3. There's also some new ones that wager like flurries and blade dances, which aren't really where you want to be. There's also like a courage wager. So there's a whole bunch of things you can wager that cost 1, but basically the vigor lets you play those without pitching, and then you can use the gold to play pitchless. So I think the vigor tokens are actually like really strong in Olympia, and this card setting that up is good. Yeah.
I have a question because we haven't actually talked about this. What do you think the Olympia like loadout should look like the equipment loadout? Like we most likely prize Galea as a headpiece. Are we playing grains in the chest?
I don't think so. I think that you play. I think that Tunic is really strong in Olympia, at least in the longer matchups, because of that play pattern of playing the 1 costs for free and then playing pitchless is just so powerful. And often you only need to wager once. You have like check raises, into the muck. You have like these other 0 cost ways to pump, but the wagers are all usually costed, or you crack a gold for them. So I think the Tunic counter is like super valuable. And then in the faster matchups, I think rather than playing grains, I'd probably rather play the gold equipment. I think that the Temper 2, where you get a 2 block and then you get a free gold activation out of them, is really strong. It's sort of like block 2 and get 2 resources. So if you think the game's going to be like 4 turns or something, I think that's probably better than the grains.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then what leg piece is it playing? It's not playing Dynamo, right? So
no, I think you just play the gold. The gold legs and gloves, I think, are the best in slot. And then I think for chess piece, it's probably like Tunic or gold chess piece, and then prize Galea. That's what I would run.
Oh, I see. So like just like the full suite of the golds.
Kinda. Like often you're playing like two of them, Tunic and prize Galea. So
okay.
Yeah, and you get to do some amount of buying them back with like rake backs and stuff like this. So Olympia is quite cool. You get this like equipment recursion theme in him, which he kind of had before with Visit the Golden Anvil, but the card was just kind of not good. It takes so much sideboard space. It doesn't have go again. You need like a whole pile of gold. I think Visit the Prize Room is a much better card despite costing 1 and blocking 2. Just like having go again is huge, and getting the vigor and the courage on top of the prize Galea is just, it's actually like feels like it's like worth your time to resolve it.
Okay. You know what, like Olympia has such a cool flavor to it, but like when you look at it from like a competitive constructive point of view, having this like limited inventory is actually like a really big downside for this hero, right? Like if you can have like a bunch of cards in your inventory, or if like these prize Galeas and these like extra equipment didn't cost any like equipment zone slots, or like sorry, like sideboard slots, man, this hero would be so much better.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's like 2 slots for the 2 prize Galeas because that's kind of all that you're playing, but still a real cost.
Like the older cards where you get to like swap all your equipments and stuff. Like,
It's bad.
would it be bad if you could just like have all of them in your like binder and just like swap them out all the time?
Maybe it would be better then, but I think ultimately, like in practice now, you just don't play it. You play 2 extra prize Galeas and you play like 2 or 3 visit the prize rooms and call it a day. I think that's kind of good enough for Olympia right now.
I think you just play 3 visits, right? Like visit the prize room. Like you just don't need to play the third. Like resolve the third one.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah, two or three seems like the right number, but yeah, I think Olympia is like really sweet. I like this like big attack, wager, have some tricks, maybe have some dominate, and then kind of just like keep doing this like above rate cycle. He's at least very good into other assertive decks, is what I would say. Um, and he kind of just does like a lot of damage. I think like where I'm skeptical is like Gravy. You have like no ways to kill allies. Gravy has hook. That sounds kind of scary. Maybe you can just like dominate, hit him in the face. That's probably your best bet, but it seems like a little bit scary. And then the decks that block, uh, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I haven't played those matchups. You do get to go very tall with dominate. They do get D reacts. You do have into the muck as like a shred if they're playing tall D reacts. Yeah, I think Olympia I might believe in a little less than Hala, but I've been pretty impressed with him still. I think he does some very powerful things, is what I would say. I've seen him like blow up Syndras, for example. So he's definitely not. I think like previously Olympia was just like not a deck. There was just like not really good matchups for the hero. There wasn't really a reason to play it. I think that's not the case now. I think he does a powerful thing, and the question is exactly how that lines up into the meta. And I don't know. I spent most of my time on Hala, so I don't actually know.
Okay, fair enough. Very quickly, last card to talk about Olympia. Card called All In. It's a 0 cost red 3 block warrior action. It says the next time a sword you control attacks, destroy all gold you control, and the attack is +2 for each gold you destroyed this way. And when the chain link resolves, if the attack didn't hit, you lose the game. Kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah. This can potentially be a game plan in and of itself where you're like, I'm gonna get, I don't know, 10 gold, get +20. You probably have other cards on the turn that you're popping off, and you just do like a giant attack. I don't know if 10's like the correct number, but that's like the idea, right?
Into Betsy.
Yeah,
You play
yeah,
like 9 golden companies and you just block out Betsy, all in, kill them.
yeah. It's like definitely interesting. I can see it. I will say that not spending the golds on Golden Grail is a big efficiency loss and makes it harder to get your golds in the first place. So that is kind of like the tension with this card. But I think if you're playing all in, you kind of need to be all in on this card, so to speak, right? Like this is your game plan. This is what your deck is doing, and this is how you're winning the game. I don't think you just like put this into your Olympia deck as a card and play like with the play patterns we were talking about, where you're like playing pitchless, spending the gold on Golden Grail all the time, and then like you just draw all in randomly. Like you're probably not doing that. This is like the whole game plan, I think.
Yeah, it actually might just give you like the answer to the super blocky decks that if you having troubles against that. But honestly though, I don't know if you have that much trouble into the blocky decks because you have a weapon, like warriors gets weapons. Weapons are good into fatigue.
Yeah, you also have dominate. You have some good attack reactions. Yeah, I'm also not sure if you need this or not, or if you can just hit them with big dominate. Like that usually kills people. Like Valda was often good into a lot of the fatigue decks because you just go big dominate attack over and over again, and that just kind of hurts people. It's very good.
Yeah, you really do hurt people that way. uh,
Yeah. I think Olympia is really cool. I feel like he was sort of this like half baked hero, and they gave him a real theme. They kind of seem to have really gone in with this like gambling theme. You have like into the muck, bluff catcher, rake back, all in. It's very check raise. It's very like poker themed, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's all poker theme. The only one that it's not is like Golden Company. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff that isn't, but yeah, it's like very fun. I quite like it. He also has like it's like I don't know. There's like something big blinder is in this set of the card, small blinder. Yeah, there's a lot of these kind of like fun gambling references. It's pretty cool.
Okay, then we'll wrap up the episode talking about a couple of like interesting cards that don't really fit with Hala or Olympia, but like maybe for some other heroes. The first card I kind of want to talk about is Peaceful Sanctuary. This is a red 0 cost 3 block. It's a generic action aura and says heroes can't create aura tokens. At the start of your action phase, destroy this. So, man, like, I'm just so sad this card's not a blue. Like, if this card was like a blue 0 cost 3 block, like, I feel like this is going to be another, what is that War and Peace card called? Warmonger's Diplomacy?
Warmongers, yeah,
Yeah, I thought this card was gonna be like a Warmongers, and then I thought about it, and it's like, it's not a blue. Like, it
yeah,
not being a blue is such a big deal, but man, playing this card into a Viscerai or like a Vincent seems miserable for them.
yeah. I think yeah, I had a similar thought when I read this card. I think yeah, it's very interesting. These kind of like narrow silver bullet style cards in Flesh and Blood have this very they're very particular. When they're red, they're kind of unplayable, and when they're blue, they tend to be quite good. And I think LSS needs to be at least thoughtful about like how many of them they're printing and what the effects are, because yeah, they're really strong. Like Ripple Away is just like an incredibly powerful effect to have at blue, and Warmongers is another good example of that. And I think they need to be careful with how many they print, but I do think having some of them in the blue base is interesting. So it's interesting. I don't know. I thought it was notable that they kind of like dialed it back with this one and made it a red.
I kind of just wish they just make all of those yellows. Like, imagine if
Yeah,
all of these cards are just yellows. Like, sure, that's fine.
it has like more of a cost, but it's not like the red where it feels kind of unplayable. Yeah,
Yeah, whereas like you know how like Ripple Away is like disgusting of a card, right? Like why
yeah,
is that card blue? Why does it block for 3? Why does it attack for 4? Like
yeah. It just kind of feels like almost too free for some decks to run, I think.
or like it's free for basically every deck, right? Like there's like
Yeah.
almost no reason not to play that card if like Vincent is strong.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they need to be careful with these effects, and I kind of like that this is red overall, but I do agree that maybe making all of them yellow would have been really interesting, because then if you want to play Ripple Away for the Vincent matchup, you can, but it has like a real cost. Maybe Ripple Away would be a little bit too weak as a yellow, but you get the idea. Like I think there's like spots where if Warmongers was a yellow, you still might have played it, but because like a lot of people like Syndra plays Warmongers, and like it being a blue is largely downside because you play Rabble and you don't really pitch. So there's definitely spots where the card would still see play, but you have less of these like fatigue pleiades put in all the blues that just high current currency, peaceful sanctuary, just like all the cards that are gonna like shut down somebody randomly. I think you like don't want to overdo that is what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, then the next card to talk about is a reprint with a question mark. It's run through. But this one is a red pitch. So it's a 1 cost 3 block warrior attack reaction. It's a target sword attack gets go again, and the next sword attack this turn gets +3. So we've already had Blade Runner, which is the exact same card with a different name, but now we have 2 Blade Runners at red.
Yeah,
Has to be
yeah,
good.
yeah. Blade Runner. This card existed only at yellow for the longest time in Dorinthia versus Rhinar, but now we have another red and another blue. And if you look at Kasai decks, they're often playing like 3 red, 3 blue, 2 yellow kind of thing. And the yellows do have value because Kasai wants yellows, but you have access to more Blade Runners. I don't think you're gonna play like the full 6 copies of every color or anything like that. But yeah, these dual wield decks just need a lot of cards with Go again because they need to swing both swords, and this is like one of the relatively more efficient ways to do that.
It's also a anti-Arachne Huntsman thing.
Yeah.
They play 2 red Blade Runner, 2 red run throughs. Oh, I would wanna just please just play 9 copies. Like so much easier.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people playing like Blade Runners at red and blue, then run through at yellow for Huntsman. But you can do even a little more of that if you wanted to. No.
Yeah, it's real. It's definitely real. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think times when you can look for kind of free ways to do this are it's just like a way to squeeze out a little bit of extra value in like a random matchup. I've seen like some Guardians do this too with like the blue 8 powers. Like if they're not a deck that plays all of them, they might play like 1 or 2 of like a whole bunch of different ones just so that Huntsman doesn't get to snipe as many cards as easily.
Oh, those players are so. Oh, why? Yeah. Okay, the next card to talk about will be a Kasai card. It's Raise Blades. It's a red 0-cost 3-block warrior action. It says draw a card, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. The next sword attack this turn gets +3 power. Go again. So it turns on Kasai's hero text and is a 0 for 3. Solid.
Yeah. I guess I'll say that like I think this is kind of playable in a lot of warriors. A lot of warriors are playing Sharpened Steel. Like Dorenthia was playing Sharpened Steel as a 0 for 3 pump. And this just gives you Sharpened Steel with card selection, which is like pretty good. So I think there's like a lot of warriors that might play this, and it's like a pretty solid card. You kind of get like it's even better than Sync Below, honestly, because you draw the card first. So you get to kind of fix your hand a little bit, which is really big for that kind of consistency piece and resources and all the things that we've been talking about. And then if you're Kasai, you also just get to swing your swords for free, which is fantastic. So in Kasai, this card is crazy. This is 0 for 3 that makes your weapons free. So it kind of generates like 2 free resources. And in the other warriors, I think this is still like I think other warriors are still going to play this card.
Yeah. Look, if Kasai sometimes it makes more than 2 resources. If it swings the sword like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, on a blood on her hands turn or something, it can enable that. I think the comparison is like a lot of Kasai decks were playing draw swords largely for the blood on her hands turn, and that was 3 cost for +3 draw a card. You don't have to put the card back, notably, so that you kind of turn the blue into a fresh card. But it requires you to have a blue, and the deck didn't play that many blues, and you can't always necessarily use the card that you draw. Whereas if you draw a card, put one on top, it's like at the worst case, you had the hand that you started with, and sometimes you get to upgrade.
Yeah, this card's messed up in Kasai.
Yeah, is very good, and Kasai was already good. She won the calling. So yeah, I think as we talked about, she'll continue to be good. But I don't think that there's like a lot to explore here, right? Like you kind of slap this in your Kasai deck. Probably there's a lot of kind of generic pumps. Some decks just were playing Sharpened Steel. I don't know if the calling deck was, but I think like Chris Ali won with the deck playing Sharpened Steel at the start of the year, and you could just like replace that card with this one, and your deck is just a decent amount better.
Yeah. A lot amount better.
A lot better, yeah. Like I don't know if it like transforms your matchup spread or anything like this, but I think it just like gives you some extra points into like basically all your matchups, which is yeah, very good.
Okay, this last card here. So this is a common generic equipment, and it's Old Leather Helm, blocks for 0, and it says if you've been attacked 2 or more times this turn, this gets +2 block. It has Blade Break. So this is a 2 block against any deck that attacks twice or more.
And it comes in all the slots, all the equipment slots too.
Is this good?
I don't think it's CC good, but I think it's probably relevant in Sage.
Yeah. Don't we already have Blade Beckoners that are essentially just 2 blocks almost all the time?
Yeah, but many of these decks don't necessarily like swing their weapon that much. Like some decks, I feel like okay, I've been playing Briar in Sage when I have to play Sage, and there's a lot of matchups where you play like Blade Beckoner, headpiece, gloves, and chest piece, or and boots. You play the garland and the chest piece, and there's so many games where I just like don't get to block with all my Blade Beckoners. I just feel bad. So I think like having the option is at least notable.
Okay, okay. Maybe replacing one of them with like one of the old leathers.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen some like Acilios running around gaining popularity lately, and they're usually like on some combination of 0 for 4s and go again, and like that deck just like doesn't have a weapon it can swing, for example. Or against like Dromai, like they just never have a weapon swing. So I don't know. Yeah, you could potentially mix and match so that you're covered for more matchups. You could potentially spend sideboard slots on this. Honestly, spending a sideboard slot on +1 armor for certain matchups is actually not a bad deal if there's enough matchups that are relevant.
Also, I guess if it's like, if they're not like, let's say a warrior, not warrior, a guardian, like most decks attack twice, so it's like you can just like straight replace one of your blade reckoners, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know exactly where this will see play, but I looked at them like somewhat not unconditional, but like two block equipment is strong in Sage and it's generic. So yeah, I suspect we will see some amount of these in some Sage decks somewhere. Is kind of how I feel.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so that's kind of every card from Mastery Pack Warrior that we wanted to talk about or touch on. If like you listeners had any other cards that you wanted us to talk about, please comment down and then maybe we'll touch on it next week or some other time. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts about Mastery Pack Warrior? I think Mastery Pack Warrior in general was like kind of a success in the sense of like it gave cards for decks that needed cards in a meaningful way that wasn't just, oh wow, this is so dumb now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mastery Pack Guardian felt a little on the weak side. There were some additions, there were some cards. Valda got some support that was cool, but I think Mastery Pack Guardian felt a little bit flat of maybe where we wanted it. And I think this, yeah, I agree. This is a success. I think seeing Hala kind of get fully fleshed out, seeing Olympia become a real hero, and seeing the Warriors in general just get a little bit more tools is very cool. The deck, the cards feel, yeah, powerful but not broken, and I think that we have to see. We haven't really had tournaments since the set came out. We'll be seeing calling Hamburg, I think, in a week, and then Kansas City in 2 weeks. So we'll get our first glimpses then. But I suspect Warrior will be a decent amount better, and I think that Warrior. I think some of these Warriors are kind of like real, very real considerations. I don't know if they're like the best deck in the format, but I think they're probably strong A tier decks. I wouldn't be surprised to see them top 8 kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess to end it off, Mastery Pack Assassin got announced as well. So that's the next Mastery Pack after the Warrior one. Lots of mixed reactions, I think, on it, where, you know, why Assassin of all heroes, but I'm happy. I get Arachne cards again. Nice. Arachne always needs cards, Like we're playing some dirtily really bad cards and I get to replace some of these. Amazing. And the new hero, Dr. Mortimer, seems interesting. So yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy. That's all I can say. That's all I can say, Not biased or anything, I don't it's not like I only play assassins all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, something I'll say. I guess I have a few things to say
Uh,
about Mastery Pack Assassin. Is like I know a lot of people are like, why not some other class? Assassin's been so good for so long. Has been like the kind of the common critique. Um, I think there's like a few things to consider there. Like the first one is like, yeah, New was really good, and yes, Marionette is the best deck, one of the best decks in the format. Marionette's like gone. They're at what 889. Like Marionette is not here for very long.
it well, it's not surviving Mastery until Mastery Pack Assassin.
Yeah, I don't even think it will be there. And after that, you have like, I guess like Huntsman has seen some play, and then you have like Slippy, which saw play for a while, but since Bonds of Agony has been banned, has done nothing. You have Uzuri, who
Has
did
done
win a
nothing.
pro tour technically, but like really just like hasn't been a deck in a very long time. And even back then was like out of nowhere. No one was really expecting Uzuri. And it kind of looks like they're like maybe some more supporting like Slippy, this new hero, Dr. Mortimer, and Uzuri. And I think that those heroes are heroes that need support. Is cool to see them get support. And they mentioned that they're going to be announcing all of the products for next year soon. I kind of wonder if we're just like not getting much assassin sets in the next year, and then suddenly it'll be like, yeah, like we have Usurp the Shadow Throne coming out. We have, like maybe like a Ranger set coming up. I know a lot of people were hoping for Ranger, but maybe there's Ranger sets in the works, and this set is kind of meant to like help assassins, especially some of the weaker ones, keep up. So I kind of suspect like look at Mastery Pack Warrior. Kasai is sort of the successful warrior. There were not very many Kasai cards in this set. And I think that Mastery Pack Assassin is probably going to be similar. I don't think it's going to be like half a set of Marionette support. And I don't think Marionette will live to get there. I think it's going to be supporting the other assassins. So yeah, I think this product is cool. It's not what I would have guessed, but I suspect it will make sense as we look at the full product release.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know what? You know what? Like mistake they could have made is if they said like Mastery Pack Necromancer. Oh, that would have got so much hate.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
So at least it's not that.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, okay. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. Hope you found it helpful. You can find us on social media. Jay's at Ueda J on Twitter, and I'm at Yukili Bender, also on Twitter. You can also find me on Blue Sky with the same handle. And you can email us at onthebobble@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with us through our Patreon Discord, available to all patrons of all tiers. That's patreon.com/onthebobble if you want to check that out. That's going to be a wrap. We will see you all next time. Hope you found this valuable. And we are getting to the point where we're probably going to have some like listener question episodes coming up. I do know we have some listener questions from a while back, like maybe a month ago, that I told them we would get to. We haven't forgotten. We will still get to that. But if you have questions that you would like to ask and have answered on the podcast, please let us know. And we are kind of looking for stuff to do while we're in that in-between season, before the new set and the new limited content. So this is a great time for those listener questions, and we'll get to the backlog of the ones we have. And if you have ones, then please let us know.
I don't have any sign off. Do you? Anything you want to rant about?
Maybe I do have a sign off. You know what I've been playing recently that I don't think I ever thought I'd start playing recently? I've been playing Magic, and I've been playing pre-modern. That format's kind of fun. It's like people are very proxy friendly, and it's kind of just like all the old bad cards. And it feels like one of the only ways to play Magic that doesn't have all the new crossover IP stuff and cards that draw you 2 more cards, and those cards you draw you 2 more cards, or you play this card and it just ends the game unless they answer it in a turn. You just like don't have that. You kind of have like a lot of the classic like cards that I grew up with, or iconic Magic cards. Lousy threats. You 2-for-1 your opponent, and you're like, oh my god, they got 2-for-1. You like have some board of like Mother of Runes, and then you have like a 2-1 shadow with protection red, and your opponent's like, oh my god, I can't beat this. It's kind of incredible. Your mana is like so bad, like you're like playing like the pain lands. It's like, it's kind of awesome, honestly.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like I think pre-modern is fine. The I haven't played too many games. I think I played like one game so far, but yeah, I don't have much to say about pre-modern. But you know what I do have to say? Do you know the card Fantastic Car
Yeah,
that got banned recently? I'm so mad that they designed that card the way that it is. Like, it's a Fantastic Four car. Why does it cost three?
because they got to make it broken.
Like, they could have like balanced the card and made it so reasonable if it cost four. Okay, maybe not reasonable, but like at least it wouldn't have cost three. And then it fits all the themes of the thing, right? Like the whole card says screams four, 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 except for the mana cost. I thought they were done with that with Grizzlebrand.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. I'm very jaded about Magic set design. I didn't think I'd play Magic again, honestly. But yeah, the
Yeah,
card's
yeah. So
still fun.
you don't play any Magic. You just dug up your old Magic cards and wanted to play some old Magic. Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's honestly pretty fun. I don't know if I'll be playing like a lot of it or anything, but as a oh, it's Monday night, I'll go play some pre-modern this week. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's pretty fun.
Fair, fair. You know a game that I started playing a little bit more now
What's that?
is Riftbound.
How do you feel about Riftbound? I feel like Riftbound is like very hot topic, very popular. How do you feel about Riftbound?
Um, I think my take on Riftbound is that it is a pretty fun game. The games are pretty interactive and skill intensive. Those are all good. The one thing I cannot stand is that they have this awful rule system where it's impossible to figure out the rules of this game. Like, you read the card, you think about it, and you're like, how does this card work? How do you figure out how this card works? Is you kind of just like need to know where the rules exist in the nether of the world, like you just need to hope that there's somebody online knows a link from Riot that they've made 6 months ago that talked about this interaction once. And I think that's the one thing I hate about this game is like they could have like made the game rigorous so that like the rules just make sense. They decided not to do that. Sure, that's fine. But if they're going to do that, at least like have a little hub or something or like somewhere where we can just like look up a card and have like a database of all the rules. But they don't have that. Like we basically have to go to like a judge Discord and ask, and then there will be like 4 or 5 or 20 or 40 different judges having 40 different opinions on how a card should work.
Hmm. That that does sound not great.
Do you know the
I don't.
last time? Do you know the last time I've interacted with that? Like at a competitive standpoint, was when Nadu was a card in Magic the Gathering, and that card doesn't work with the Magic rules, and it feels like it's a Nadu scenario every other card I come across with in Riftbound. So that's the bad part about this game.
Hmm. I see.
But other
Yeah.
than that, game's great. Pricing is okay. It's like the One Piece thing, cards are worth a lot. Pricing are good because the cards are worth a lot. Cards are reasonably accessible. You can buy them kind of wherever. There's a locals kind of everywhere. You get to play it. You want to play the game? Awesome. It's fun. It's great. Just don't think too hard about it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. That's our sign off. You get to end it?
Yep.